Marvel's Bloodhunt issue number 4. I've been waiting for this for a while now. I had my thoughts and sentiments on issue number 3, and I felt like this was the issue that was going to start to heat everything up and start to get over to the climax and start wrapping things up with the story. And this book did not disappoint. Dope stuff happened, badass things happened, characters are coming back to light that weren't around beforehand, and a lot of dope stuff all around is happening with this run and with this particular issue. I'm gonna get into it, so stick around, let's do it.
You're now watching The Captain.
Alright y'all, to answer some of the questions we had at the end of issue number 3, first and foremost, the biggest thing is, what is the Temple of First Blasphemy and who created it? We learned from the prior issues of tie-ins leading up into this issue, most notably Black Panther, is that the Temple of First Blasphemy was this big temple that was created by this big uber strong demon by the name of Varney back in ancient times of the world. He more so focused his Temple of First Blasphemy being created in what is now known in the modern day as Wakanda, and it was kidnapping a bunch of the pre-age Wakandans before Wakanda was founded and using them as slaves essentially and sacrifices to power the Temple of Blasphemy so he could propel himself into godhood. In addition to that, he stole a metal resource, which I assume to be vibranium, from another god on this council of gods. Getting into them really quickly, from what I gather, this group is a pantheon of gods in the eastern part of the world that are presiding over human beings. Most notably on this council are the gods of Khonshu, the moon god, who is responsible for the creation of Moon Knight, and Bast, the panther goddess, who is responsible for the Black Panther. Varney took resources and took a metal from another god on this council by the name of Paita. I believe I'm probably mispronouncing these names of these gods, but Paita, and used this metal to again assist him in his ascension into godlike abilities and godlike immortality. That's essentially his big idea. And for me, I had mixed feelings on this piece of information being revealed. Obviously, I feel as though that this is a dope story still, and that I am enjoying this villain of Varney being around and his motivations, but I feel like his reveal to us is kind of like anticlimactic in lack of a sense. Like, I feel like they could have done a better job at rolling out who he was. Everything feels like that they took a long time building up into this point in prior issues and prior tie-ins, and now they're just like boom, 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 going from point to point to point, trying to wrap the story up now that we're on the other side of that hill. But it's, again, all around, it's fine. I'm enjoying the story so far. And Varney, from what I gathered, seems pretty cool. We learned from that tie-in and a little bit from this issue that those gods did not take it very kindly with this demon trying to ascend into godhood and having his sense of immortality. And they just rained hell on him and came down to beat his ass and lock him away into a sort of coffin until he was brought back into modern day. Continuing further into the issue, we finally get to where Doctor Strange and Clea were, where they went to Latveria to reach out to Doctor Doom for help. Now, one thing I want to say about Doctor Doom in this story so far is that he is on some mafioso badass shit in this story. We saw him kind of lingering around other tie-ins like the Strange Academy. We're wondering, why is he around? What is he doing? And now that we're seeing Doctor Strange and Clea go to speak with him, he's essentially letting everybody know what's going on with Blade and letting them know that yes, Varney is the one that is controlling him, and kind of giving some backstory on when this happened in the prior Blade issue. The thing about Doom in this story is that he is very smug and very much so being a big asshole about the entire event. Obviously, he's either had some kind of thought process before this happened in regards to seeing how people were manipulating the Dark Force up until now, and he's been building up, I guess, plans on top of plans and contingencies on top of contingencies on protecting him and Latveria from the Dark Force energy and whatnot. It wouldn't be Doom if he didn't have some kind of plan to assist everybody and assist the world he has to, because he lives in this world, but also getting what he wants out of the situation. And in this situation in particular, you have Doctor Strange pleading with him for assistance because we need his help to get rid of the Dark Force that's surrounding the planet. Strange is essentially letting them know, like, yeah, of course, I can gather the mages. I know a good bit of mages that can help us get this thing accomplished. And Doom's like, no, Steven. I already have them prepared. I took the liberty of collecting your Strange Academy students and bringing them here to help us with this thing. And they cut to the coolest fucking panel that I've ever seen of the Strange Academy kids. Where they are on some mafioso shit. They all in their black ties and suits, And they look there like, yeah, we here for this. We here with the shits. We here for the shits. We saving the world. My boy Doyle is just like is clean with the drip on, bro. This is it's just I had to speak on this really quickly because again, I love the Strange Academy so far, and if you have not read them, I advise you go read them. But moving forward, Strange kind of lets everybody know, like, yeah, I took the liberty of collecting your kids so they can be the mages that we need for this. But the last thing I need is you to give me something. They don't really say what that thing is yet, but essentially it is a thing that allows for Doctor Strange to be the Sorcerer Supreme. Doom essentially is letting him know, like, in order for this to happen, I must cast this spell and I must be the new Sorcerer Supreme of the world. I'm assuming this is the Eye of Agamotto because that's the only thing I've known in comics to kind of like be the measuring stick of who the Sorcerer Supreme is and passing on that title. So it's going to be really interesting if we get to see a new power exchange in the Marvel Universe where Doctor Strange gets to be the new Sorcerer Supreme. Moving forward in the story, we follow up with Tigra and Hunter's Moon, where they are in Asgard looking for the individual and trying to bring forth the plan that they mentioned in issue 3 as far as bringing forth a undead army who is impervious to vampires. And they have that secret individual with them that we see cloaked in shadow. We find out what they were looking for seems to be this big vault / prison cell that is constructed for Khonshu, because in a previous issue, he was essentially on some bullshit trying to conquer the world, and upon his defeat, he was locked away in Asgard. Khonshu was essentially like, hey man, y'all might as well go ahead and peace out because there's no way you have the key to open the cell door and I can't assist you if I'm locked up in here. Hunter's Moon then proceeds to reveal who the secret someone was that they needed in order to break out Khonshu and make this plan a reality, and that is the Wrecker from the Wrecking Crew. For people who aren't familiar who the Wrecking Crew is, they are this group of construction workers who happen to be bestowed Asgardian weapons and abilities in the comics, and from what I remember and from what I know, they're kind of just more like gag characters in a sense, but because the Wrecker has an Asgardian powered crowbar essentially, he has the perfect tool to essentially have a smash and grab and open up this cell and get Khonshu out so that he can assist with defeating Varney and the plot that Varney has going on. Going back to the Temple of First Blasphemy, we then see the Black Panther and Blade, or better yet Varney, have more dialogue in regards to the plan that he has. He brought back the temple and is drinking some of the god blood of Thor in order to power himself up and complete a ritual in which he will become the embodiment of the Dark Force, and in his own words, the unliving Dark Force. From what I gather, he's essentially like a shadow demon now with the ability of like dark energy, but he's also in the body of a Daywalker and Blade who is also super hyped up. So this version of Blade is probably just like as strong as possible and as can be. And I know what y'all are probably thinking, with him transforming into the unliving Dark Force, how strong does that necessarily make him? My estimation from reading how he's describing his ability and his strength is that he's somewhere on the essentially strength level of someone like Null, the symbiote god, where you have the ability to just overtake entire planets and stars with the Dark Force energy that he has now. And he's that big of a threat now. This is something that a lot of people are going to have difficulty contending with in this universe. Not soon after his rise into his new abilities, Black Panther then points out that there's a full moon in the sky. And normally with vampires, you think that'd be a good thing, but this is the key sign that Khonshu is free, and there is a big power balance that has shifted over to the side of the good guys now. Because the sun and the moon were supposed to be blocked out, not allowing for any sunlight to rain down on the earth. But with Khonshu being out, he's able to implement the sun and make this a big thing. And with him implementing that and his powers being able to rain down, he's able to essentially revive all of the past Moon Knights that he's had over the decades and centuries that he's been around. So he has this undead army with no blood and no fear, where they essentially can just fight these vampires without fear being turned, and they have a arsenal of silver and all kinds of other weapons in Khonshu's armory that can take on these vampires. And for the people that haven't been keeping up with comics up until this point, in the prior issues where Khonshu was wilding out, at the conclusion of that story, it saw the death of Mark Spector, Moon Knight. And as you can assume, with Khonshu being brought back and him resurrecting all of his old right hands, this indeed in turn brings back Mark Spector, the Moon Knight, back into the fold, and he is back into the Marvel Universe and making a huge impact on this battlefield. After this realization, we then see that the Black Panther pulls out this stake or a blade of some sort and is preparing to try to make an attack on Blade. Obviously, him being like OD strong at this point with the Dark Force energy stops him and kind of like questions his ability to even fight back. He's saying that the heart-shaped herb that he's ingested at the beginning of him becoming the Black Panther has been helping him fight off this infection. So pretty much the strength of the Panther Goddess Bass has been like slowly curing him from his vampiric infection over time, which allows him to gain more and more control over himself, which to me seems like a cheat code. But, and here's the interesting thing, because Blade isn't really paying attention to what that blade was, he asked him like, hey, did you really think you could do a lot of damage to me with this little blade? And Blade lets him know like, no, I didn't think I could do any damage. I was just removing it. And that's when we realized that the stake or the blade or whatever you want to call it that he used to try to attack Blade was the one that was inside of Thor's head, keeping him pretty much comatose up until this point. So now Thor is instantly healing and he's starting to gather his strength again, and he's ready for war. He's ready to avenge some shit. And as soon as he comes to and lets him know like, hey, I've taken insult and injury and I am ready to fuck shit up again, we then cut to the Avengers arriving on the scene, letting him know like, yeah, he's ready to fuck y'all up and we're ready to fuck y'all up. So at this point now we see a relatively full strength Avengers team. The only person missing is the Scarlet Witch at this point in time. So they are ready to take on the new unliving Dark Force. Blade's ready to try to take them out, and then you have the Avengers versus the Blood Coven and the souped up Blade. So I don't know exactly how strong he is, or even if this Avengers team can contend with this version of Blade, because he seems like OD broken at this point. And I really want to see what else these other characters that are involved in the story are going to have to do with it, because someone like Brielle, we were told in a previous issue that she had to be the one to kill Blade. I'm like, cool, we're getting towards this final battle and she's nowhere to be seen quite yet. And we have her dealing with some other vampiric demon over in the Dracula tie-in. All in all, again, I'm excited. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this particular issue. What are you guys hoping for the future of this run? And you know, what else are you guys reading? If you're not reading Bloodhunt, what else are you reading? Let me know in the comments below. Again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo, and I will see you guys next time for issue 5 in Marvel's Bloodhunt. Peace.